Hello, good evening and welcome. You've just entered the arena. I'm Michael Coren, whether you like it or not, and thank you for joining me. Well, by now you've probably sat around the dinner table and discussed how impressive it was that on Saturday in Tirana, outside of the Provincial Parliament building at Queen's Park, more than 2,300 people gathered together to protest the funding of abortion. Now, of course you didn't, because you didn't know, did you? But more of that later. They were supremely well behaved, they were polite and courteous. They didn't swear or curse. They didn't break the law. Very different to the occupation crowd. For that matter, the pro-lifers didn't defecate and urinate in the street, which again is very different from the occupation mob. But there's something else here. Those fatuous, feeble occupiers actually left their dirty tents and had a march at the same time as the pro-lifers on Saturday. And this time they increased their usual, 75, 90 people who sit around all week at the campsite to maybe 1,500, even 2,000 people. But any fair, objective account would conclude that there were more at the defund abortion rally just 10 minutes walk away. So, of course, we had lots of coverage of the pro-life march on the TV, on the radio, in the newspapers. No. Every show on every station gave enormous and generally very sympathetic coverage to the occupation march. But none even mentioned the pro-lifers. Now, if you read this in a book by Orwell or Kafka or heard that it had happened in the former Soviet Union, you'd shake your head and thank God that you lived in a different country at a different time. Look, it gets even worse than that. There was a zombie march in Toronto on the weekend. It's a lovely, charming event, really, where people dress up and they put on makeup, they parade as zombies. Lots of fun, great participation. They don't post enormous numbers, but that's not the point. It's a good laugh. But my golly, even this was covered on all of the Toronto TV stations. So, let's think about this. Good people dressed up as zombies, and that's covered. Then real zombies dressed up as hippies and occupiers, and that's covered. But not a word about the defund abortion rally. Now, was it incompetence? Well, I can believe that some journalists are fools, but all of them? Come on. There's a conspiracy of aggressive indifference at play. Because we don't care about this, goes the reasoning of the consensus media, nobody else can be interested. And if we ignore it, it will disappear. The contrary runs as well. Most people couldn't care less about the so-called occupation, you know, but the media gives it so much attention that we begin to believe it is really significant. A few years ago now, the largest march in the history of Washington, D.C., largest in history, took place. Yet the Washington Post refused to even acknowledge that it had happened. What sort of march? Long pause, pro-lifers, of course. Yet when perhaps, 150,000 people party for Gay Pride Parade, we're told that there are 1 million people present. Look, the grid system measures these events, and it's pretty accurate. Believe me, there is no way 1 million people could fit into Toronto's Yonge Street unless it stretched for miles and miles instead of yards and yards. The chattering classes do not tell you the truth, and media desires to shape rather than reflect culture. Never forget this, otherwise you'll be on the zombie march. No, not the people dressed as zombies, the zombies dressed as malodorous hippies.